Porsche's added a new GTS to its Cayman range, the first two-seater GTS coupe to hit the market, and it's already the flagship. The new Cayman GTS struts its stuff on the Circuit Mallorca, and true to the Cayman name, alligators can move very fast indeed. Car tester Reinhold Deisenhofer explains the Cayman GTS was made for both the racetrack and the street. GTS stands for Gran Turismo Sport, which, like so many things with Porsche, has a story behind it. Back in 1963, there was once a Porsche 904 GTS race car that was street legal. And that was the concept behind the new Cayman GTS. It's ideally suited to both the track and the street.
Ist wunderbar für die Rennstrecke geeignet, aber auch für den Alltag.
The straight 6-boxer engine of the new top-of-the-line Cayman is based on the Cayman S's 4.3-liter powerhouse. Optimized fine-tuning bumps its output up to 250 kilowatts and adds 10 newton-meters of extra torque to make it 380. The Cayman GTS with the Porsche dual-clutch unit makes the sprint from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 4.6 seconds and just breaks the 280 kilometer per hour mark at maximum speed. Reinhold points out that, on paper, the difference between a Cayman S and a Cayman GTS isn't that much, maybe a tenth of a second off the acceleration time and a few more kilometers per hour of the top speed. But in the driver's seat, especially on the track, the little differences tend to add up to one big one.
Cayman GTS.
The Porsche Active Suspension Management sets the chassis 10 millimeters lower and heightens agility. The optional Porsche Torque Vectoring, or PTV, gives the GTS better handling. The PTV selectively brakes or locks the differential on the inside wheel going into curves to enhance the car's steering precision and agility. Former race car driver Walter Röhrl describes the regular Cayman S as a perfect car. Now Porsche has added a bit more oomph to it, with an extra 15 horsepower, plus a slightly redesigned interior. But for him, the decisive point is the sound inside the car. At the press of a button, drivers get the look and feel of a real race car. The new Cayman GTS's cabin also strikes the balance between the street and the track. The instruments are logically and neatly arranged. And the surfaces are a joy to the touch, especially on the steering wheel. But it's the engine position that really qualifies the Cayman GTS for the racetrack. Walter Röhrl draws the comparison with Formula One, the highest racing class, where the engine is mounted midway between the axles to achieve the ideal weight distribution. The disadvantage, though, is that it takes up space in the cabin. The engine sits right behind the two seats. So he says there will always be fans of the 911 with its rear-mounted engine and fans of the mid-engine, the real high-performance sports cars. Standard on the new GTS is the Sport Chrono package, with stiffer mufflers and a sport exhaust for the throaty racing sound. The sound is as much a part of a Porsche as its body styling. For the new Cayman GTS, Reinhold Deisenhofer coins the term everyday sports car, saying that GTS is just as good for city driving or zipping around country roads or down the Autobahn. But even without much converting, it can also be taken out on the racetrack. And there, it does what Porsche GTSs have always done best: drive fast. It's all the tweaks and nips and tucks that make the difference.
machen den Unterschied.
Porsche's asking more than 77,000 euros for its all-purpose sports car in Germany, over 10,000 euros more than for the Cayman S. That would pay for lots of concert tickets. But then the Cayman GTS comes with its own orchestra in back for an exhilarating sound and driving experience. Welcome to the Big Boys Club. With the new Grand Santa Fe, Hyundai has unveiled a real biggie, which can rival the likes of Audi Q7, BMW X5, and the VW Touareg. The new version replaces the current top model, the iX55. Despite all-wheel drive technology, the revamped Santa Fe isn't a real off-road vehicle. It's more like a roomy SUV. Car tester Sascha Knapp says Hyundai hasn't had much success in the off-road segment. The iX55 didn't sell well, and Hyundai is now hoping to regain lost ground. The new model is 4.91 meters long. That's 22.5 centimeters longer than the old one. It has 3 rows of seats and can hold up to 7 passengers. But how much roomier is it really? At first glance, the car looks chunky but sleek, thanks to a 10-centimeter long wheelbase, as well as a longer rear door and extended rear window. In the front, the new, longer Santa Fe has the trademark Hyundai hexagonal radiator grille with a 4th chrome bar. The headlights are outfitted with xenon technology. The new 19-inch alloy wheels are eye-catching too. Tinted rear window panes lend the car an air of mystery. The rear has 2 independent backlights, as well as 2 visible exhaust pipes, left and right. Together, they lend the Santa Fe an even more powerful look. Sascha says when the 4.91 meter long car is really full, visibility on all sides is limited. Despite a rear view camera, it's hard to see much in the back left or right from the driver's seat. On the inside, the Korean car maker has opted for upscale sophistication. The cockpit is modern, and the materials and finish are all high quality. Drivers can opt for hill descent control and parking aid, as well as an off-track warning system. There's also an optional large sliding roof. Fold down the back seat, and the trunk has a volume of up to 1,842 liters. Sascha says you can push back the backrest so that there's more room in the second row. That makes for a comfier ride. And he says, in winter, you can add seat warming. The third row of seats can easily be folded flat. This area has separate air conditioning. Now Sascha's testing out the third row. It's not as comfortable as the front row, that's clear. With the second row seats in the upright position, he can manage in the back, but sitting up that straight in front isn't really comfortable, nor is being cramped in the back.
Aber ich glaube, hier vorne möchte jetzt keiner mehr sitzen bei so steilen Sitzen und ich hier hinten so eingezwängt eigentlich auch lieber nicht.
Whether you want to sit in the back or not is one of the few decisions you can make on your own with the Santa Fe. The rest just comes with the big size. That includes the 2.2-liter diesel engine with a 6-gear automatic transmission and variable all-wheel drive. At 145 kilowatts, it accelerates to 100 kilometers per hour in 10.3 seconds and consumes 7.6 liters over 100 kilometers. When it comes to fittings, there are 2 packages, Style and Premium. With a metallic finish, a large sliding sunroof, and a tech package, our test car has a price tag of a bit over 53,000 euros. It's not a bad deal. The basic version of a BMW all-wheel drive X5 costs about 1,600 euros more. BMW has rolled out the 4 Series Grand Coupe as a smaller and more affordable alternative to its 6 Series sedan. Just like its two-door cousin, the latest 4 Series offers more dynamism and elegance. Its market debut will feature a choice of 3 gasoline and 2 diesel engines. The most economic model is the 418D, with an output of 105 kilowatts and a consumption of 4.5 liters of diesel over 100 kilometers. Mercedes is getting on the on-road 4x4 bandwagon with its concept coupe SUV. It's their answer to BMW's X6. The beefed-up front is reminiscent of the GLA and C-Class, but sleek lines dominate the almost 5-meter-long SUV. And there's a powerful engine under the hood that's definitely not looking to win any fuel economy awards. Like the BMW X6, it's intended to cater to customers in the US and Middle East. Someday, delivery vans won't be rumbling around town. They'll slip down residential streets as quietly as mice. The battery-powered version of the Berlingo van is the Berlingo Electric. Citroen's counting on it to improve their sales figures in the utility vehicle class. It reminds car tester Mattes Kurat of when he drove bumper cars as a kid. You step on the gas, which isn't really gas, and the car takes off and quickly gets up to speed. As soon as you let off the pedal, the car slows down again just as quickly. The only difference to the bumper car that he sees is the Citroen's cushier suspension. And unlike a bumper car, once the Berlingo is charged, it can drive anywhere within a range of some 170 kilometers. It has no exhaust pipes, of course, but it's got plenty of space. Depending on the body style, the Berlingo Electric can carry up to 700 kilograms. Mattes says the new European driving cycle assessment of fuel economy found a range of 170 kilometers for the Berlingo, but he sees that as unrealistic, particularly because the assessment is structured in a way that favors electric vehicles on emissions ratings. In contrast to an internal combustion engine, which puts only about 30% of its energy into propulsion, an electric motor uses 90% of its energy to drive the car. But when the driver needs heat in winter, the unit consumes additional electric power instead of making use of the engine heat. And that reduces the car's range in winter dramatically. The Berlingo Electric was specifically designed to meet the needs of commercial buyers. An output of 49 kilowatts and a maximum speed of some 110 kilometers an hour is more than sufficient for making delivery rounds in town. Citroën believes the rated 170-kilometer range is more than enough for commercial buyers. And Mattes points out that the Citroën Berlingo Electric is reserved for commercial buyers only. Citroën's Thomas Wittmann says commercial car buyers focus much more on their needs and demands on an electric vehicle, the range for instance. They know their area of operation, and they have customers to serve in a certain area, so they'll be asking exactly how many kilometers range it has. Another factor is what use the commercial operator will put the vehicle to. Of course, they'll need it for their business. But with private customers, they need a lot more flexibility. They might suddenly decide they want to take a holiday in Italy. That would be tricky in an electric van. But somebody running a business won't have those needs and concerns.
Als wenn ich im Nutzfahrzeugsektor unterwegs bin. Gewerbetreibender wird selten auf diese Idee kommen.
The Citroën Berlingo Electric is made for stop-and-go driving, for noiseless, emissions-free, and comfortable delivery rounds in town. After the last stop for the day, the van can be plugged into an outlet and recharged overnight. A complete charge takes about 8.5 hours. A fast charge to 80% of battery capacity can be done in half an hour. It lists at almost 26,000 euros, plus a bit over 6,000 euros for the batteries. Mattes says the Berlingo Electric could be just the ticket for business customers, if only the price weren't so steep. But Thomas Wittmann is optimistic about the future. He says as the car maker, Citroen knows the battery pack drives the price up, but otherwise they've got a good handle on the technological aspect. The production is streamlined and cost-effective. The battery pack is currently the weakest point, but once those go into mass production, the prices will start dropping too. Then the price gap between electric and gasoline-powered cars will narrow. Today, though, it's still an issue. And Mattes agrees. If battery prices drop in the coming years, cars like the Berlingo Electric will be far more attractive to small business owners and deliveries around town. We're in Monaco, the principality on the Côte d'Azur. The rich and the beautiful have long flocked to its shores. And it's also one of the more spectacular venues for Formula One racing. But it's not just the latest models you'll see speeding down the asphalt circuit here. Since 1997, Monaco has also hosted series that features historic motor cars, which take place every 2 years. The star of this year's event is this Auto Union Type C Grand Prix race car from 1936. It puts out a phenomenal 520 horsepower with just a 6-liter engine, a 5-speed transmission in the rear, and a differential located between the engine and the rear axle power the rear wheels. Jackie Ickx, 8-time Formula One champion and 6-time winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, will be behind the wheel.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
A lot of physical effort. There is no power steering assistance like we used to have today, or brake assistance. So it's demanding, and I think it's a great privilege to drive it, especially around Monaco. And it's also a track who is very demanding for those who really compete, which is not my case today. But if you imagine Formula One today, there is nothing like it. You just can't flirt with the rails. It has to be accurate and no mistakes allowed. So that makes the legend of Monaco.
Another thing that makes Monaco so special is the proximity of the spectators to the racetrack. Four-time Formula One world champion Alain Prost is completely smitten with the ambience here.
The track is still the same, you know, even if it's been some changes, still the same ambience, same atmosphere. So when you see the cars, the drivers, the old drivers, or the mechanics, engineers, and you know, it's the whole history of motor racing, and Monaco is part of the history of motor racing. So in fact, it looks like it's normal, you know, but it's fantastic to see such nice cars, you know. I'm very impressed about how the drivers they can be so. I mean, pushing out the cars and being so fast, and for sure they have the respect of the cars, but they also like to go at the maximum. So it's quite nice. You know?
The vintage cars, champions of yesteryear, and the special flair of Monaco all combine to make it a one-of-a-kind event. But the historic race cars and legendary racetrack also exerts its pull on the younger generation.
It's got to be up there as one of the top events. When else do you get the chance to race on such an iconic, historic circuit? It's driving between the barriers with cars like these that are so fast. And what's fun with these cars as well is they still move around a lot on the limit. You've got quite oversteery cars, very low grip surface, being a road most of the time. It's fantastic.
Another racing legend, James Hunt, is also being honored here. In the 1970s, Hunt was Niki Lauda's main rival. He was Formula One world champion in 1976. His son, Freddie Hunt, is here to keep his father's memory alive.
It was his first race and his last race, and as far as I'm aware, he never actually finished a race here. I don't think he did. He didn't get on with the circuit very well.
Vintage motor cars spanning 50 years of racing history will compete in 7 different categories. For a few hours, the spectators will take a journey back in time into automotive history. But there's nothing outmoded or fusty about the event. The drivers give it all they've got and push their cars to the limit too. Fortunately, there's not much by way of body contact today, and the historic beauties make it through unscathed. The Auto Union Type C with Jackie Ickx also hugs the curves as though time had stood still. The vintage race cars still put out an impressive performance. But as German Formula One winner Gerhard Berger knows, the race cars of old and today are worlds apart when it comes to safety and comfort. He's glad not to be behind the wheel.
I'm sure I would, because I think when you're young and you want to race, you wouldn't care, you know. But if you look today, and if you would ask me, or even you look to the other old Formula One cars, if you want to have a try, no thank you.
To top it all off, there's an award ceremony, a tradition at every racetrack, not just Monte Carlo. But here in Monaco, with real French champagne, victory tastes just a little bit sweeter.